Am I the a-hole for not wanting to stop my stepdaughter from calling me mom? Little backstory. I, 29 female, have been with Eric, 32 male, since almost 12 years. When I met him, he had a daughter Lisa who was 3 at a time, and is now 14. Her mom left when she was only 1. I helped him raise her, and when she was about 7 years old, she started calling me mom. We had a conversation about it with Eric, and we agreed to explain to her that I was not her real mom, but that didn't have to stop her from calling me mom. She understood and kept calling me mom. A little less than a year ago, Lisa's mom, Mary, reached out to Eric and asked to be back in her life. He accepted under some conditions. She would start by visiting on weekends only, to not rush Lisa, and it had to be at our house. It always went well, so we then allowed her to take her to hers on the weekends. All 3 of us eventually told her that Mary was her real mom. She took it well and was happy. Recently, after dropping Lisa off, Mary texted me and told me that since Lisa knew who her real mom was, I should make her stop calling me mom because it was confusing her. And because of that, she was calling her real mom by her name. I said I had no control over what Lisa called her, that her comeback was still recent, and she should give her time before expecting anything from her. She said that I was selfish and deliberately preventing her daughter and her from forming a real mom-daughter bond. I only replied that Lisa would start treating her like her mom when she'd feel ready to, and that once again I wouldn't push her to do anything. I talked about it with Eric, and he told me that he understood both sides, as it probably wasn't easy for Mary either, especially seeing her daughter call another woman mom. I also confided in my mom, and she kinda said the same thing, and that it was costing me nothing to take a little step back and give them a chance to form a real mother-daughter bond. And now I'm torn, because I don't want to make Lisa stop calling me mom, but maybe it is selfish and it could help Mary get closer to Lisa. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to make her stop calling me mom? Now for the top comments before the mini update. Not the a-hole. This is not a decision for anyone to make except for Lisa. Look at what Mary's doing. Mary doesn't want to be the bad guy and tell Lisa to stop calling you mom. She wants you to do her dirty work. Then it looks like you are rejecting Lisa. How messed up is that? Tell Mary you will not tell Lisa to stop calling you mom. That you will not participate in having a mother figure reject her twice. The first time is when Mary disappeared. Petty me would be tempted to reply, "Sure, I'll tell Lisa that you don't want me to be her mom anymore," and watch the panic set in. I had to go back and check the ages again, because Mary's acting like Lisa's a toddler with no agency in this situation. Lisa is 14. She's not confused. She knows who Opie is and she knows who Mary is. She's choosing to call Opie mom and Mary by her first name because she understands the situation perfectly. Yeah, the assertion that a 14-year-old is confused about the difference between her bio mom, that she hasn't seen in over a decade, and the stepmom that actively raised her that decade, is frankly ridiculous. Also at 14, she likely can see that Mary's playing games and trying to rug sweep her abandonment. If I was in Lisa's shoes, I wouldn't call Mary mom either. You don't get to just waltz back into someone's life and demand that you get to be a parent again. Just because Lisa's happy to have her bio mom back in her life doesn't mean she doesn't have any past resentment. It also wouldn't surprise me if Mary was trying to force this matter with Lisa before switching tactics and trying to make Opie do the dirty work. Not the a-hole, and you know it. This woman has been absent for 12 years. She's a birth giver, not a mom. Hard agree. Opie has been there from end of infancy through most of the daughter's important milestones. She's been there in good times and bad, as the playtime pal, and as the disciplinarian. She has truly been the mom in every way except for giving birth. The child doesn't need to be confused by having her mom tell her to stop calling her mom just because bio mom is back for now. No way. That title is earned. Put respect on the name mom. Now for the mini update. Thank you all for your words and advices. I deeply appreciate it. I decided to follow your advices and have a talk with Lisa. And I thought of maybe see if she'd be okay to also have a talk with me, her bio mom, and my husband. But I don't want her to feel pressured, so I'll see first how our conversation goes. And I'll definitely talk about family therapy to my husband. Thank you all once again. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my daughter choose which parent to have at her graduation, since her father and I have recently separated? My soon-to-be ex-husband and I have 2 daughters, 18 and 15 years old, and this relates to the oldest. We're separated and have been for the last month. The girls mostly stay with me since I'm keeping the house, but they're free to spend time with either of us as they choose. My daughter's graduation ceremony is about a month from today. Now, they made us confirm the number of guests early and also informed us that we're grouped together based on who we're there to see. Meaning, in this case, myself and her father would be sitting side by side. I'm not comfortable doing that, and my lawyer even said I shouldn't be contacting him unless it's through lawyers. He's not dangerous, that's just what they always recommend. With all this going on, I let my daughter know that she should decide which of us she wants to be there. I told her I'm not comfortable being around her father, and that it wouldn't be appropriate anyway, so she should just pick. She got very angry at me, saying I'm involving her in my relationship issues. I tried to reassure her, but she insisted that I should just suck it up for a couple hours. When I didn't back down, she called her father in front of me and told him he wasn't invited, and asked if I was happy. Before I could respond, she told me I was also uninvited, and she's just going to have her sister come and just her. I've been trying to reason with her, but she said if I argue anymore, she just won't walk at all. You're the a-hole. You do not have to sit directly next to each other at the graduation. As far as events after the graduation like parties or dinner or whatever, be an adult and suck it up. The graduation is about your daughter. You and your ex are both her parents. She wants her parents there at her graduation. Her graduation, not your graduation. Not your ex-husband's graduation. Your daughter's graduation. We actually would have to. The seats are assigned and right beside each other. The graduation is a month out. Contact the school now and request that you two be separated because you're in the process of divorcing and you don't want to risk any kind of distraction or disruption during the ceremony. You won't be the first parents who aren't getting along, and shuffling a few people will take very little effort for them. If either of you is flying solo, you may actually be useful for filling a one-seat gap so that a larger group doesn't have a single person in a different row. I did ask the school. They refused. You're the a-hole. I am going to call BS based on my experience working in family law. Does your lawyer know about this exact situation? Or are you applying blanket advice to this very important event for your child? Unless one of you has been seeking an order of protection or something, there is no reason why you would be advised not to be a big kid for a day in the best interest of the child, which, I remind you, is the literal legal standard in family court regarding any parenting issues. After a large part of 3 decades as a family law legal assistant, I will bet you my shoes that Opie did not bounce this off their attorney, because any attorney that told Opie to tell daughter to choose and then have the kid tell other parent they can't come would be violating about 12 different standards of practice, at least here in my state. Any one of my lawyers would have a serious come-to-Jesus talk with his client about Children's Bill of Rights for pulling some nonsense like this. They specifically told me to not attend any event or location where he is as well. They included events for our children in that. If that is the case, then you need to call the school and explain the situation that you need to sit separately. Are you friends with any of her friends' parents? Can you sit with any of them? There are solutions that don't hurt your child. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my soon-to-be stepmom when she kept calling me by the wrong name? So my female 16 name is Andy, just Andy. My mom's dad passed away just a few days before she found out she was pregnant. My mom was very close with her dad, and his name was Andrew and also went by Andy. The technical female version of Andrew is Andrea, but neither my mom nor dad liked the name. But my mom wanted to honor her dad in some way, so I got named Andy, which I love my name. I think it fits me. My parents got divorced when I was 8 and lived with my mom most of the time, but visit my dad every other weekend, as well as holidays. 3 years ago, my dad started dating his now fiancée Kate. Kate, for some reason when we met, assumed my name was Andrea. I explained to her it was just Andy, but she kept calling me Andrea. I ended up telling my mom about it, and she told me just to ignore Kate until she calls me Andy. Well, this past weekend I was with my dad and we were visiting some of Kate's family. Well, she kept calling over for Andrea, and of course I ignored her. She got mad and said, "Why am I ignoring her?" And I said, "Because that's not my name, and you know this." Her dad and brother basically laughed, saying they thought I just went by Andy as a nickname, and I said no, it's just Andy. They then asked Kate why has she been calling me Andrea then. Well, Kate later got mad, calling me a brat for embarrassing her. She went on to say I knew who she was talking about, and that I should have just gone with it, but I was being an a-hole. I honestly kind of feel like in that instance I should have just answered to Andrea, but I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not a-hole. She's known you long enough to know your bloody name and use it. Exactly. Like I corrected her when we first met. So like most people, you would think she would make a mental note to call her boyfriend's daughter by the right name. Not a-hole. Your dad is an a-hole for letting his soon-to-be wife disrespect his daughter like that. I mean, is there a bigger red flag than not bothering to learn the name of your partner's kid? Honestly, I don't like that my dad is still with her and going to marry her. But luckily, I spend the majority of the time with my mom, so I don't have to deal with her often. Opie, if you can stop seeing her and your dad, I would go down that route. She's awful, and your dad is enabling it. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Also, why is your dad not correcting her? This, dad should have. I will not suggest you never ever speak to them again. Maybe have a sense of humor about it. Now she knows. See where it goes from there. You are young. Don't be a doormat, but don't push your dad away because of this. Next time you see her, tell her name is Beatrice today. Not a-hole. Start calling her Caitlin, Catalina, Katedid, Katie, Kitty, Cat, or anything other than her real full name. In this example, presuming that Catherine/Catherine is her full version of Kate. Remix is needed. It's funny that Kate goes by nickname, but insists on making up a longer version of Opie's real name. I have a cousin whose legal name is a nickname, and kind of a stripper name, and she always wished she had something more formal to use for business. However, we would never disrespect her by making something up without her permission. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I stopped paying for my niece and nephew's private school fees? I am in the incredibly fortunate position to be in a substantially better financial position than my brother and sister-in-law. They have 3 school-aged children, including one who is on the autism spectrum and attends a special needs school. All 3 children are enrolled in private schools, but also happen to live in areas with at least decent public options. Although I'm unclear about options for my autistic niece. My brother and sister-in-law own a small number of hotels, and were doing quite well financially, until COVID hit, with no real recovery in sight as small business owners. They're currently looking to sell the business. It is also worth noting that they are property rich, with multiple houses, just cash poor. In mid-2020, they reached out and asked if I could pay the private school fees for their kids. I have been very happy to do this, and over the past 3 years, this has amounted to gifting them $100,000 to date. My brother claims it's a loan, but in my head it's truly a gift. If he never pays me back, I would be perfectly okay with it. I feel like if you lend money to family, you have to be prepared and okay with the idea of not getting paid back. So I'm already mentally prepared when I agreed to this. It's generally never been a big deal about this, mostly because I've been genuinely happy to do it. This is not the problem. The problem is that they keep asking for money. My brother recently called me up, asking for me to pay for the next school year for them as well. I can afford it, but it is reaching a pretty material amount to me. I'm not made of money either. I also worry about the moral hazard that this creates, where they assume I will just subsidize their lifestyle indefinitely. I think they are relying on me to defer making some hard choices in their lives and personal finances. For example, selling one of their extra houses, or maybe considering public school choices if they truly cannot afford private school. I also admit being a little annoyed that they went on a 3-week family holiday in Florida last year while still asking me to fund school. On the other hand, this really speaks to the life outcomes of my niece and nephews. I love them dearly and want the best for them. While I might choose to continue the arrangement, and I realize that would be just my choice, what are my moral obligations here? Would I be the a-hole if I gave them a clear timeline, like 1 more school year to be funded by me, so that they have enough time to plan ahead and make some thoughtful decisions about their personal finances and priorities? It also feels like just yanking the rug out from under them would be the wrong decision. Or would I be screwing up my niece and nephew's lives by playing the moral high ground with my brother and sister-in-law? Not a-hole. You are not yanking the rug out from under them if you have a conversation with them about it. You mentioned giving them a timeline. That is perfectly reasonable. It seems like they are taking advantage of you, especially given the 3-week vacation. While it may be uncomfortable for them to take a loss by having to sell some of their property, that is life, especially when it comes to finances. Not every investment is going to be a winner. At the end of the day, they are responsible for raising their children. You have already gone far above and beyond what can be reasonably expected of you. Agree. Brother is asking for OP to pay for next year, so OP should be able to say, "Sorry, I won't next year, and I won't continue." Brother shouldn't be counting OP's money as built-in contribution every year for his own children's education. Brother can ask, OP can say no. Yes, I think we can have an honest and non-hurtful conversation about it. My brother is a good guy. I just need to establish some boundaries for him and his family. They are property rich with multiple houses, just cash poor. They went on a 3-week family holiday in Florida last year while still asking me to fund school. The real estate market is very hot right now, so it's a good time to sell. I would probably expect brother to put some skin in the game by telling him he has to pay half of next year's tuition and all of it after that. He would not be the a-hole. They are taking advantage of you. You're completely right. It's definitely a seller's market right now. Instead of attempting to start paying back the loan, they are treating themselves at your expense. I think it's amazing what you're doing, but it needs to stop. I'd give them 1 semester, not a whole year. Another good idea, maybe start with committing to the next semester. Sees them through this calendar year at least. That's a good starting position to discuss with